as we go through this stuff, we talk a lot about change and transformation. And I just want you guys to know that if you ever want to reach out, you ever need help, reach out to us. You can find Jill or myself through paulsharpcoaching.com. Again, that's paulsharpcoaching.com. Just go in there, fill out the form. There's an email form you can fill out. You can opt in and reach out to us, or you can find us on social media, Jill Sharp RN or Paul Sharp Coaching on Instagram, Facebook. We're easy to find. Just reach out to us and we'll do everything we can to help you. We can get you set up and on the path to transformation and changing yourself into who you really want to be. All right, let's talk about change. We talk a lot about this just in our private conversations and conversations with friends. It's a frequent topic, and I think even yesterday on a phone call with someone, we were talking about how you have those feelings of restlessness. You have those feelings of something's just not right. This isn't how I want to be. That's a calling from whatever you believe in. I don't know what you believe in, but I really do feel like it's some higher source calling us up, calling us to be something better, calling us to be who we were born to be rather than continuing the path we're on. And a lot of times people get to that stage where they feel like that irritation, they feel like that, like things aren't right. I need to do better. I should be doing better, but they don't know where to go from there. They don't know what to do. They don't have tools. And there are tools, and they don't understand the stages that they're going to go through in this process. And maybe because they've never done it before, or when they have done it, it was unintentional. So they didn't realize this is basically what's going to happen as you go through this process of change. And I think it's important to talk about it and to get this information out there. It's out there. The information is out there, but it's always in courses. It's always in programs. It's always like you have to go to college. You have to take a class on positive psychology, or maybe you want to be an addiction treatment specialist, and so you want to work with folks that have it, that struggle with addictions or things of that nature. And then you start to learn about change and how we know how it goes down. We've studied it. We know how it works and how it plays out. But until then, as a regular person, you just kind of stumble through it. And sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. And the danger is that when you're having that irritation, that I'm not happy feeling, something needs to change feeling, a lot of times people, because they don't know how to change in a positive way, they go in a negative direction and they start to go further into trying to shut that voice down inside. They go further into trying to bury the guilt they might feel for behavior they did that wasn't the greatest. When really all that behavior is, all that little voice is just calling you to be better. It's your conscience saying, which is the voice of God or whatever you believe in, saying to you, like, do better. You were meant to do better than this. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you hungover again? Why are you missing days from your kid's life again because you can't stop drinking or whatever the behavior is? And and the mistake that we make because we don't understand that just this is a call to change. This guilt isn't a call for a beatdown. This isn't an opportunity for me to beat myself up. This is an opportunity for me to identify and make changes and see, like, this behavior isn't something that I should continue. This is a call to change this behavior. And then what typically happens is we do more of the thing we regret because we think it'll shut that voice up. Or we think we get so beat down, we think, well, this is just who I am. I can't change. Because again, that call to change is misinterpreted, or we don't have the tools. We don't know what we need to do next. And I think it's fun when we see people make the changes. It's always, it's a phenomenal thing. It's like fantastic to see somebody make changes and stick with it, particularly when it's difficult in the beginning. Like it's a war in the beginning to just get those changes put in place and then follow through. But it's equally as frustrating to see people who are struggling and you know what they need. You know what's going on because you've gone through it multiple times yourself, and finding a way to have that conversation with them where you say, look, man, this is what you need to do. You don't need to seek more comfort. You don't need to bury your head in a bottle or a pipe or a bong. You don't need more porn. You don't need, you know, it's not that you need a girlfriend because your wife doesn't understand you or can't be there for you. It's not like you need a side piece. What you need is to change yourself, and then everything else will change. And that's what you're being called to do, but you're misinterpreting the message. And you're going to make even bigger mistakes and dig an even deeper hole, because you think you're going in the path of comfort, least resistance. You're getting away from it. You're shutting it off and ignoring it and burying your head in a video game for 18 hours or burying your face in your phone for 4 or 5 hours a day of screen time. When what you need to do is go do something hard. You need to go prove to yourself that you're ready for change. Prove to yourself that you're hearing the message, and whatever that message is, that you're gonna listen and do it. That you're gonna right now put some running shoes on and go outside and run 5 miles, even though you haven't run in 30 years. I don't care if you have to walk, crawl, I don't care. Just do it, finish it, and begin the process of change.
Tell me more about why when we're helping people transform their lives,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's a relationship issue or a work issue or a fatherhood or a motherhood issue, whatever the issue is. Why do you ask them to start exercising? Why do you ask them to go for a run every day?
Because that's the easiest thing to do, or the simplest thing to do. We'll put it that way. Like I can't help you repair 10 years of damage you've done to your relationship. I can't. I can't show up magically in your home and say to your wife or to your husband, listen, I know they've been screwing everybody in their office for the last 10 years. Every new girl or guy that comes to work there, they end up hooking up with them. And they've hurt you immeasurably over and over and over again because they just can't stop this behavior. But right now, it's going to be okay. Right. But moving forward, so let that go and let's move forward. I can't do that. I can't undo damage like that. But what I can do is help that person right now take control of the only thing they have control of. The only thing. So you control the controllables, you control your response to the uncontrollable, right? That's like a tenet of Stoicism. So, what can I control? What I eat and what I drink, and what I do with my body. That's it. If I can control my desire to stay in bed and sleep until the very last second and then get up and run out, you know, just in time to get to work. If I can start controlling that and start making myself wake up 90 minutes earlier, and those 90 minutes, I'm going to use 30 minutes to read something that's going to edify me. I'm going to read something that's going to challenge me. I'm not going to read some garbage. I'm not going to look at my phone. I'm not going to scroll the internet. I'm going to pick a book up, like an actual physical book, and I'm going to read it. And I'm going to read for 30 minutes. And the whole time I'm reading, I'm going to be taking notes. Like I will actually like have this book. I'm not going to write in this book. This is Matt Thornton's book, but I think, yeah, like you can see, I actually did like I highlight even the chapters, and then I go through and read. And as I read, I don't think this one's too marked up, but as I read, when I see things, I'm actively reading it. I can't remember who said it, but someone said that man reading the book should be like a ball of light in his hand. Like it should be like on fire. You should be consuming it, right? It should be like firing all these pathways, and your brain should just be lighting up like you see the grid light up at night, when all the lights come on. And just taking notes and writing, and I'll have a notebook with me. I don't have it out here now, but I have a notebook and I'm writing down things as I think as they occur. Like what comes up in me as I read this? Like what do I think when I read whatever it is I'm reading? If I'm reading like Joseph Campbell's Primitive Mythology, you know, well, why do I need a God that looks this way? Right? And if I'm created in the image of God, then what does that image say about me? Right? And so you start having these deeper conversations internally, and you start not focusing on the negative. And so that's 30 minutes of your day that maybe in the past would have been spent doing something that wasn't constructive, that wasn't of value. And now you're doing something of value because that's all you can control. I can't control if I've hurt my spouse or my kids, or I can't control if I've been a terrible employee or a terrible employer. If I've been a terrible employee and my boss is just waiting for a reason to fire me, just can't wait. He's looking for it or she's looking for it, right? Or my coworkers are just praying every day that I don't come in and hoping I get fired. Or on the other side of that, if I'm the employer, I show up and maybe people will show up and maybe they won't because I'm just a crappy person and nobody wants to be around me. You know, that damage is done and I can't do anything about it now. Not technically, right? I can't go back in time and redo it. I can only do my best moving forward. But that best starts in those 30 minutes that I can control. Like I can make myself get out of bed earlier no matter how tired I am. I went to bed at midnight, still getting up at 2:45, right? Because that's the time I need to get this done before I present myself to the world. This is my internal alone time, kind of like Superman, right? Fortress of Solitude, or Batman going down in the cave, right? This is my time where I can only work on me. I can only do the things that I can control. Everything else is out of my control. I've done that damage. And all I can do is control my response to that, meaning I stop feeding into it. I don't respond with anger to people being upset with me or sick of my shit. Like I can't be anything about I can't I can't be any other way about that other than accept it as fact, right? So I just have to control my response to it and continue putting the work in and then control the controllables. So get up, I do that 30 minutes of reading again because I'm controlling what I'm putting in my mind now. I'm taking control of this space between my ears and what's getting fed to me. I'm not watching CNN, I'm not watching Fox, I'm not looking at my phone and getting angry and spun up in whatever direction they want to take me that's away from here and improving this and feeding their algorithm or whatever it is they need, right? I'm not doing that. And then as soon as I'm done with the reading and the writing and the reflection, it's time to run or burpees or something. You have to do something where you take control of your physical form. I'm taking control of what I'm going to do with my body. In the past, right now, who knows? I might have done something destructive. I might have stayed in bed again, right, till the last minute. I might have done all these other things. But right now, right here, I'm going to control what I can control, which is my physical state. So I'm going to do some ab work every day, 250 reps minimum, right? Just to, because nobody likes doing ab work. Nobody, right? Just nobody wants to do that. And then I'm going to do some cardio because one, it's better for most people, circadian rhythms and all that stuff. It's better to do cardio in the morning in a fasted state. It's a little harder in a fasted state. And also, nobody likes to do cardio. Let's be real. People don't run because some people run because they love running, but for the most part, it's the challenge. It's the endorphin rush. It's the high, right? And it's the health benefits. We're thinking of other things, not just I'm doing this because I love it, you know. But again, controlling the controllables. What can I control right now? Can't control the damage I've done. I can't control that today when I go to work, it might not be the most friendly environment that I've created for myself. I can't control that yesterday when I went through Starbucks, I wasn't the nicest person to the person in the drive up window. I can't control those things. I can control this for right now. So let me take control of this. Let me work on this. Let me become a better person. Because the other thing too is change doesn't happen until I change me. Like everybody else isn't going to change to accommodate me until I change. And then once they see, again, back to the example of you trying to bring me into your home to explain to your spouse that it's all better now. He's trying. They've heard it before, man. They've heard all the, I'm only going to drink on the weekend. The weekdays, though, I won't drink. But the weekend, I'm going to drink. You're still a drunk, dude. You're still an alcoholic, right? You're still letting everybody down. I'm just going to smoke weed on the weekends. I'm just going to smoke weed Friday, Saturday. We know you're not going to stick with that. We know within a week you're going to be back to smoking every day and drinking every day. We know because that's what you've done every other time. And so I can't undo all that. I can't undo every time you've let them down and lied to them. But what we can start doing is creating a new you. So given time, 3, 6, maybe a year of time, they'll see, oh wait, this time it's real. They really did change. This this dude's getting up every day at 3 o'clock and reading, or 4 o'clock and reading, and then running, and then coming back and taking a shower at 6 and making some coffee and drinking some water, and then going to work and getting to work 5 minutes early instead of right at the time when they're supposed to be there. And then when they're at work, they're in a better mood. They're more in control of their emotions. There's no more of this behavior that alienated everybody and made people upset, and it has a trickle down effect, right? So that's why I emphasize that, because I realize if you've done damage, if you've been a broken person, you've created some walls for yourself. You've created some barriers for yourself. But the first barrier we have to overcome is you, you know, and think about it. If I'm trying to get somebody to stop, say I'm a pillhead, right? So, which I did, I struggled with opiates, right? So I had an opiate issue after my aneurysm. And we know through studies that the reason a lot of the vets that came back from Vietnam were able to kick morphine and stay away from it was because the extreme change in environment. We know, right? Like, change the environment makes it a lot easier to stay the course. But we also know that if I want to find it, I'll find it. So you could take me, send me to a 28-day program, get me sober, right? Like, I'm as sober as a deacon. You take me, and you're also going to move me 3,000 miles away to Maine. I don't know anybody in Maine. I've only visited Maine once. I have no resources there. If I want to find opiates, I'll find them within the first 24 hours, right? So then we have to look at, well, what really needs to change? And that the environment needs to change, but the environment's in here, this environment. So how do I change this environment first? Because once I change this environment, everything else has changed. My eyes, the way I see things has changed. And that is the biggest piece. If I can get people to see themselves differently because they've stayed the course, they've done this hard work. If you People that come in and they do my program with me understand pretty quickly it's a lot. It's hard. I want If you're going to quit, if you have it in you to quit, you're not serious, I'm going to make you quit, you know. Um but I don't want you to quit. I want you to surprise yourself and show yourself you're capable of this. And I tell them, what you're doing, I'm doing too. We're doing this together. I'm not just sending you programming that I don't do. What we're doing is what I do, right? And what I've found to work over and over and over again for myself and others. And so it's not it's it takes them and changes them. And then they start seeing things completely different. It's like they get a new vision, they get new eyesight, and they don't see things the same way anymore. They might live in the same place, they might be going through the same circumstances, they might be going through a divorce, they might be going through some sort of loss, they might be going through whatever trials and tribulations they were facing before, but they start to see it different because they've learned to control the controllables, which is inside this space right here, right? And then now they can control the response to the uncontrollable, which is I can't help what I did, but I'm doing better. You just can't see it yet. And I tell them, like, don't tell people you're doing better. Don't tell people you're doing this stuff. Like, there are people that they'll post online. You'll see them. They'll post online their progress and what they're doing, and I'm cool with that. But for the people who are doubting you because you've let them down, and that doubt is deserved, just prove them wrong, right? Just show them that I am different. I don't have to tell you, don't talk about it, be about it. Right? Yeah. So yeah, that's basically why I start with the physical. It starts with the food we eat, the liquids we drink. I want them drinking water, half their body weight in ounces of water every day. So 200-pound person needs to drink 100 ounces of water every day to start. That's a start. I think over time they'll realize that it feels better to drink more water and just cut everything else out. And yeah, control your diet, man. There's a reason. If you think about it, I was thinking about this the other day. I think we talked about it a little bit. There's a reason in every major spiritual practice, when they wanted their God's attention, they sacrificed their best crops, their best animals, right? Because that's life sustaining. I'm rolling the dice. I'm going to sacrifice my most prized bull, which might mean the end of that source of food. It might mean the end of whatever, of money, of people coming in and being like, hey, would you mind breeding your bull with my cow so we can, like, or my horse or whatever? Like, it might mean the end of that line. And also my future supply of food is in jeopardy if I sacrifice this. And I'm going to sacrifice the best of my crops, to this God to get their attention so they can see that I want to make you happy and I need help. And when you think about it from that perspective, like, I'm sacrificing the best of my food. So what am I going to feed my kids? Right? What am I going to feed me? How am I going to sustain myself and my children? The relationship with food takes on a different light when you think about it that way. So when we're fasting, so in modern day, it's more of a fast, right? Like, there's not too many spiritual practices out there that are cool with sacrificing animals, right? Um, but we sacrifice food in other ways. Ramadan, right? For the Muslim world, Ramadan is 30 days, I believe, fasting from sun up to sundown. So you can't eat that whole time. So there's just a brief window of time where you can eat. And other religious practices, Christianity, they have fast. The Catholics have Lent. And so it's sacrificing that food to show that I'm serious about this. I need to change. I need help. And so when I'm working with people, and that's one of the first things, I'm like, we have to know what your calories are and what the macro breakdown is of those calories. Like, what are you eating and what are the percentages? And more importantly, why? Because it has to be towards a goal. It has to be an objective. So then that's similar to that, right? It's like we're looking at our relationship with food in light of our practice of trying to become a better person. And we were more willing to sacrifice these foods for this end state, for this goal. So it's just interesting when you think about like our history with food and relationships with gods and how the sacrifice and the fasting and all that. It's like food plays a bigger role in the process of change and transformation than we want to give it credit for. You know, I'm making this sacrifice, so to speak. I'm eating 1,400 calories a day with a macro split of 45% is carbohydrates, 30% protein, 30% fats, just for instance, for example. And that is a sacrifice, right? 1,400 calories is not a whole lot. And it changes my relationship with the food, changes my relationship with myself, but it also gives me a feeling of ownership and control. Like food's not controlling me now. I'm controlling my food. My relationship with the food has changed from master to servant. You're here to help me reach my goals and to achieve the things I want to achieve. I'm not here to be unable to stop myself from going to the fridge and eating the entire plate of whatever. Or every time I walk by the pantry, I have to stop and eat a whole bunch of cookies because I just can't help it. I've changed my relationship. And that starts to bleed over into everything else. People start to see this dude's making changes. This girl, man, she's not the same girl 30 days ago. Like something's changing. She, uh, and you have to accept that your family's going to be skeptical, or the people you hurt, they're going to be skeptical. They're like, let's see, we'll see. Give it a year, right? Of course, yeah, that's fair, right? But then you show them in a year, you're a savage. In a year, you're a totally different person. You look like you're made out of hardwood flooring, right? Like you've been chiseled out of rock. And your eyes look different, your expressions are different, you carry yourself different, you walk different. You know, there's just everything about you has fundamentally changed. You've burnt down the old you and built the new one, and now it's undeniable. But most importantly, you you controlled the controllable. You did it for yourself. You made the changes for yourself, realizing that no matter how much you change, you might not be able to salvage the relationships you damaged, but you still had to make the changes, right? So that's why it's important. That's why I focus on it. That's why I like drive it hard. I drive it hard that if you want help transforming yourself, if you want help making these changes, going through, you know, the 10 kind of the stages of change, there's kind of 5 steps to change that come after or in coincide with the 10 stages. If you want help with that stuff, reach out to us. You know, I tell people all the time in my social media, like, reach out to me. I will help you. I will help you get where you want to go. You're going to pay me, right? Because that's how it goes. If you get something for free, there's no value and you won't stick with it. But if you pay me and then you're like, oh man, I got to do it. I paid, right? Like, I got to do it. I don't want to waste my money. That's also a sacrifice, you know, but it forces you to have some ownership. It forces you to have some accountability, and you're going to be accountable to me. You know, once a week minimum, we're going to get on the phone and have a conversation about where you are and what you're doing. And all of these pieces in place will get you where you want to go. But yeah, that's why I focus on the physical, because that's the most simple, direct route. It's not easy. It is not easy. You see me in the last week, you know, I dropped 20 pounds in 5 days. You know, I went from 246 to 226 in 5 days doing a water cut um, to experiment, right? To see, is this like a viable thing? Is this cool? Does this work? But yeah, it's very simple.
I think also one of the things when you do what I have seen with you is when you are ready to take a big leap, you'll do something like this because I feel like it just energizes you.
Yeah, it jump starts it.
It jump starts it. So, you're just sort of like you could you could see your goal on the horizon. We're getting closer, closer, closer. Things are starting to come together.
Mm-hmm.
But then you decided to put yourself through this really, really challenging week,
Mm-hmm.
a 20-pound water cut.
Mm-hmm.
But I could just see you at every day. The harder the day became, the more energized and excited you became.
Right.
I mean, I have heard more words come out.
Right. Well, that's the joy, right? And the effort.
Yes.
There's something about doing something really hard that just energizes you. Right. Where you reach that point where you're like, I can't do this. And then you realize you can. I'm doing this. I don't think I can do this. Wait, maybe I can. You go through that process,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important. I think it's simple. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth it. It is an incredibly valuable experience, and I wish people would do it more often. I wish people would take that self-assessment, maybe every few months, every few years, whatever it is, when they start to feel that I'm not happy, that agitation, like that's a wake-up call, man. That is something calling you to level up. It's time to level up. You've become comfortable and stagnant, and it is time to level up. So,
Yeah. I agree. I think especially for two people like you and I who, the people in our lives just really like us and think we're
mhm.
happy and all of this stuff. I can't even tell you how many messages I've gotten from people in your life where they say, "Gosh, Paul was always a happy guy, and
Mhm.
fun to be around and all of these things, but I have never seen him so happy."
Yeah, yeah, that's
And
true.
so I think we have also transformed our lives
Yeah,
and went from, you know, great people to be around, great people to have around,
hmm,
but then together, just this magnetism and this extreme joy and happiness.
yeah,
And I think that's what I want to be contagious and what I want
hmm,
to bring to anybody else who wants that.
yeah.
Transform and change your life.
And everything else will change.
Everything else
Everything else will
changes.
change once you change yourself. And that's, yeah, I was thinking about that. The people that message you and from my world that'll message you and be like, he was always a happy guy. Like even Matt Thornton, right? Recently was like, you were always a happy guy, but now it's like another level, you know? And it's interesting too, when you get hit by the people that don't like to see that you're happy, that don't like to see that you've made changes and it's actually going well. And they try to somehow beat you down with some message of, yeah, you're doing great over there, but let me point out this incredible failure here, you know? And it's interesting, like what motivates that? Oh, envy.
Envy.
Yeah, envy, the root of all evil, the true root of all evil, right? So Ayn Rand wrote that envy was the worst sin because envy is just evil and it leads to destructive practices and all that. So it's been an interesting ride to just kind of see how that has played out, both sides of it, and how to manage, both sides of it, where it's like this is cool, but I know I can be better, as well as again, I can't control what you think of me based on mistakes I've made in the past. All I can do is control my response to you and not lash out in anger, not point out the 500 ways you failed as well, or and continue to fail. But let's just keep it moving.
Yeah.
It's been a challenge. It's good. So, what's the last word on this you want to say before we wrap it up?
I don't know.
Just on the spot. On the spot.
You're always asking me to be the closer.
Yeah. Hey, listen, coffee's for closers. If you can't close, you get no coffee. Best movie ever.
No,
Um, all filmed in one room too.
right.
Yeah. But no, I think it's important that we talk about change, and it's important that I see it as a mission. I want to help people transform. I want to help people change. I've done it for myself so many times. I've done it for others so many times. Coming back from an aneurysm, coming back from serious knee surgery, coming back from a really bad back injury that just left me just a mess, um, all these things that have happened in our life, going through divorce, twice going through divorce, talk about some internal dialogue that just wants to beat you down, when you're just like, that's such a failure in the eyes of society, and a stereotype of first responder world, right? Like how many times are you going to get divorced? Like I know cops that have like 11 divorces, and just yeah, and just realizing like, oh man, I'm a mess. I'm a failure. I'm a mess. To be able to again, you know, Phoenix effect, decide like, all right, it's time to burn everything down and rebuild and start over, and just change myself fundamentally. I'm being called to change. My conscience is screaming at me, all these things, right? Like whatever it is out there, the universe, whatever, it's telling me it's time, and just doing the work and just sucking it up and just working hard. And I just feel like this strong, like, drive and mission to help other people do that. Like, I know what you're going through, man. I can see it on your face. Let me help you,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah. That's what I would end with is just I want everyone to learn how to experience personal transformation, personal growth, be a changing agent in their own life and
mhm.
just feel what it's like to experience joy and happiness, laughter
Yeah,
through all of the adversity and the hard work that we do every single day. It's the
right,
most amazing life. I
right.
feel so grateful to be living it with you.